I do feel like this is a surprise party. I mean, you can plan it all day long, but the key piece is to show up and to be grateful for the gifts that you're given, even if there's not one that you asked for. Which is, I use that metaphor all the time. You may
Yeah.
be given a present that's wrapped in so much pain and disappointment, and I can promise you there's a gift in it that you can be grateful for if you are open to finding it. And I'm good at doing that.
Yeah. Welcome to the Unstuck Career Podcast with your host, Ken Williams. Each week, we move along your path to possibility so you can finally have the life you want. Let's learn how to deal with people you never wanted to be friends with together so you can become unstuck and unstoppable in your career and life. Welcome back to another episode of the Unstuck Career Podcast. This week, I'm talking with somebody I met on an app, which sounds very different than what it was. The app is Owl, and Denise Mesker and I chatted a couple times. We had a good conversation. One of the things I love about Denise, aside from the fact that she's a neighbor, she lives in the same state that I live in,
Right.
but
Rare.
she's a celebrant, a storyteller, a spark plug for the soul. I just love the way that she describes herself. She uses personalized video tributes to turn memories into magic and send offs into celebrations. So I just had to have her talk because this is not something that I see people going to school for. And so welcome, Denise. She likes to think about life as the ultimate surprise party. So welcome.
Thank you. It's my favorite thing to do. Story tell and inspire through words in a very unique way, and not something that I foresaw.
Right. So first of all, I have to point out I love just the vibrant colors that I can see in your background. You've got on your shirt. It's just um, not the plain that I have.
Well, I mean, I call myself a Tasmanian unicorn for a reason. There aren't many that I mean, my sofa's hot pink.
Yes.
Yeah, so but I was an art major, and you can't take the artist out of the girl. I
Right.
say girl. I tell people all the time I'm like a 7-year-old in a 57-year-old body, so I'm constantly
But
ready
I
to
think that's
play,
all of
ready to
us.
color, sit in the floor. That's what I said. I was at an event on Friday, and it was like, my grandkids are sitting cross-legged watching reruns of Miss Rachel, and I'm watching reruns of Ted Lasso painting sugar skulls. So it's not a big stretch.
Oh, great. So let's start at the beginning. How did you get into helping people create memories, memorializing celebrations?
Yeah, well, surprising story to everyone, myself included. I'm a mom of five, and my oldest daughter at the age of 12 was diagnosed with leukemia.
Mm.
At the time, I was a decorative painter. I went into homes, did like color consulting and faux finishes, a lot of murals, a lot of, furniture and whatnot. And she woke up with leg pain at 12, at the age of 12. We were by 1 o'clock that same day at the hospital with a leukemia diagnosis. And
Oh,
so,
wow.
fast forward 3 years later, 3 years of perspective training, faith training, embracing the unexpected as a gift, figuring out a way to give thanks for it. I was divinely led from day one in how to do that. And she dreamt she was a star in the hospital, didn't want people to be sad that she was dying. And my grandmother had passed what I call a party hop. So I celebrate life as a surprise party
Mm.
that doesn't end with the last breath. It's party over for the body, but none of us really knows what happens on the other side.
Right.
Or if we do, we've forgotten. And so the surprise is away, and a spirit party hops on to the next venue. So when she didn't want people to be sad, and dreamt she was a star in the hospital, I sent out a memo that we weren't going to do a visitation or funeral. We were going to celebrate
Mm.
Heaven's newest star with a red carpet premiere of her life tribute video at the Grand. And that is what showed me what was possible, as opposed to what our culture and what the norm is when somebody has, exhaled for the last time. And it was a standing room only event, and people were
Wow.
inspired and uplifted. And I didn't like immediately think I'm going to do this as, for a living, or I'm going to do this for other people. That was 17 years ago. I have realized in every capacity, I am like a picture of possibility, and like to show a different experience as possible,
Yeah.
and have honed in on really wanting to disrupt the death industry so that we normalize the conversation, that we can talk about it, and it not be taboo, that we can actually have fun around it, that it can be the most fun party you've ever planned in your
Yeah.
life.
Yeah.
And the videos are something I incorporate into those celebrations. If somebody doesn't want a pre-planned personalized celebration of life, they can have a tribute video that's very personalized and a legacy piece that will last forever.
I love that. Um, so do you do mostly videos, or do you do other things, audio recordings? Do you have the person who is being celebrated involved in that planning, or is this all done after the fact?
Well, there are options. And when I first created Surprise Invite, it was in 2016 when I thought that I was getting ready to party hop. I knew that Janae didn't want people to be sad and that she had dreamt that she was a star. Fun fact, probably a decade after I did this whole celebration around her being a celebrity and a star in the theater and movie posters and the star in that way, I kind of got like what I call the divine eye roll. Like a decade later when she didn't mean star celebrity, which I thought was odd that she wasn't like a glamour glitz fame
Right.
type soul. She had given me hints about being a star like Stardust or Light or the ethers, but yeah, somebody had actually we made her celebration a fundraiser for leukemia and lymphoma actually, and we had stars, small, medium, and large, that people could write memories. Hers was actually a living celebration, and that's right, it can be a living celebration. The majority of us though aren't going to have a heads up. We're not going to have a diagnosis and know.
Right.
So the trick for me has really been to get people to talk about it ahead of aging, ahead of an illness, ahead of need, when
Mm,
it is more fun and playful and light. The sense of urgency people haven't felt yet, they haven't experienced, I feel like, the difference that it makes in the celebration. I'm hired to do the videos for a multitude of reasons. So I could do a video for Mother's Day or retirement, a special birthday. I had a husband hire me to do one. They're in their 30s, like nothing heads up about that other than he wanted his wife to know how appreciated she is, and maybe isn't told how selfless and loving and appreciated she is. So it all stemmed from me doing my own. Like I didn't have somebody to do mine the way that I did Janae's, and I couldn't find anybody that at the time, funeral director or event planner, that wanted to take me seriously and talk about this radical celebration I wanted that would include stilt walkers in the parking lot when you arrived, and a tribal drum ceremony, and aerial ribbon dancers, which none of it makes sense. And speaking of eye rolls, it must be a theme in our family that I am just now acknowledging, because I will have the final eye roll in my oldest son. I know he's going to roll his eyes and be like, Jesus, she's still here. And that's what I want to leave them with. So,
so
yeah.
great. Well, because I was curious because you talked about star and celebration and red carpet and things like that, and I didn't know if that was somehow connected to stars in the sky, stardust, that kind of thing. And so that's funny
Well,
that was
somebody,
confusing to you too.
and I don't even know who did, or else I would have totally have coffee and tell them. So in this star theme, and it being at the theater, the movie posters and stars from the ceiling, writing memories on somebody, and they probably had a gift card with it at the time. Unfortunately, it's been lost or it's not on the back of somebody. It's not called adopted a star, but there's a map of the star that they purchased, like in Janae's name.
Uh,
And I was, after, and I was still married, and it was several years after that. I did have that graph of her star out, but when I divorced and moved into my home and was creating my office and everything about Surprise Invite and was hanging those up, it wasn't until then. So, like I said, 10, about 11 years later, when I was like, oh man, she meant star. And that would make so much sense when people are having like a near death experience and they're seeing a light at the end of the tunnel. And, she had told me that we weren't her real family. Her real family was here to get her. Um, and there was another time when we were out and she said it reminded her of heaven, and then it reminded you. So after she party hopped and I was like, all these pieces were coming together, I realized that it was like she had a remembrance, It wasn't, you know what I mean? Like
Huh.
I had questions that, I wasn't gonna be able to get the answer to. And I'm okay with that because I'm so playful and surrender. I do feel like this is a surprise party. I mean, you can plan it all day long, but the key piece is to show up and to be grateful for the gifts that you're given, even if there's not one that you asked for. Which is, I use that metaphor all the time. You may
Ah,
be given a present that's wrapped in so much pain and disappointment, and I can promise you there's a gift in it that you can be grateful for if you are open to finding it. And I'm good at doing that.
yeah, I love that. And there were a couple of things that I loved about the way that you kind of approach this, but the unexpected, treating the unexpected as a gift. I
Mhm.
think that's a beautiful way to live.
Thank you. And I would agree. I would, maybe it doesn't always feel beautiful. Maybe it's not always fun and full of joy. I am wired to gravitate towards the positive, the joy, the peace, the love. And I have had so many seasons in my life. Janae's, I feel like, I say all the time, she was my bachelor's, and there were other seasons that were my master's, my PhD, and my CEU, as far as a whole different application of knowing that I wouldn't have asked for that experience. And I'm a changed woman person because of it. And I'm grateful for being so. As a matter of fact, when I look at my life, the harder things, the hardest things, the most painful things, they were the best gifts. They were the seasons that molded me and made me love life all the more.
Mhm.
So when you cannot be attached to outcome, when you can be humble enough to receive the guest, receive the gift, and be committed and determined to finding what it is, and knowing at the end of it you want to find love and gratitude, that really is the secret to an amazing, incredible life that you never fall out of love with.
Yeah. So how do you disconnect from that attachment to the outcome? Because the kind of the traditional cultural mindset that we all
Mhm.
have is that we have to be chasing a specific outcome, and that's why we have the quote rules that uh, go to school and get good grades so you can get into a good college, so you can get a good job, so that you can get
Wow.
money, so that you can have the kind of life that you want. So how do you disconnect from that?
For me, whether I wanted to or not, I always thought that that's the best way to go about it. Like I said, I gravitate towards peace and gratitude, and so there's a great peace and surrender and not being attached to the outcome. Now, I will say, and I'm a spiritual person. And I referenced this earlier. The day of Janae's diagnosis, when we had no precursors, no warning, and all of a sudden I'm outside of her room in the hospital, wondering if she's going to live or die.
Mhm.
Um, I was raised in church. I was raised Catholic. My dad was so devout, people mistook him to be a priest. I mean, all the way up until his party hop. And so I knew the story of Abraham being asked to sacrifice Isaac in the Old Testament. And so the first thing that kind of came to me is this could be like Abraham being asked to sacrifice Isaac. And my love for God and my faith in the divine is great enough that I would pass that test. I don't now believe that we're tested. However, on that day when I thought this could be that, I also heard a voice behind that thought saying, "What if it's not?" Which I interpreted, or what was given to me was, maybe it's not like Abraham getting to sacrifice Isaac. I may not get to keep her in the way that he did. And somehow I committed to, if that was the outcome, what came to me or what was given to me is I wouldn't be the first mom asked to let go of a child. And if that was the outcome, I would look to the moms that had been asked to go with their children ahead of me in order to live my life in a way that was still faithful, moving forward, full of love, full of joy. And so, in hindsight and looking back, that's how I navigated that journey with her. And
Mhm.
for us to be able to embrace the gift of a day and stay in the present, to not be attached to the outcome, because I had already kind of very quickly looked at the future. She may live, she may die. And either way, I'm going to be okay.
Yeah.
And I also, in that voice, heard that the only way she was going to make it was to find the one good thing, no matter how much it was surrounded by bad. Find one good thing and cling to it. We got really good, her and I both, in a yin yang of finding the good. So much so that when she party hopped, she wanted to be cremated. She said so, like we are talking about what we were going to have for lunch.
Mhm.
We were going to bury her cremains. I was feeling the emotion any mom would naturally feel that I
Right.
have to bury my baby today. And then that same voice of wisdom when I said, I know there's a get to, but I can't find it, because one of the practices that we had learned in finding gratitude in all things was to give thanks. And there was no have to, everything was a get to.
Mhm.
A very empowering thought to realize there's nothing like you having to work, having to go pick up the kids, having to grocery shop. There is no have to, everything's a get to. So as I was feeling I have to bury my baby, I said a prayer. I know there's a get to. Please help me find it. And that voice offered to me only one woman in the entire world got to be Janae's mom. And she's the one that gets to release her into the surprise party and whatever comes next. And
Yeah.
so the gratitude really did push out the grief. I mean, ever since, it's been hard for some people to believe it's real. I've gotten good about not worrying about what other people think. Like, I know what's genuine for me, what is atonement for me, what is peace for me. And I'm not afraid of dying as much as I'm intrigued by it. And I'm so grateful of all the people, all the women in the world. I was the one that got to experience that journey in her life with her, birthing her into the world and releasing her to whatever comes next. So
Yeah. What a great way to approach that. How much time did you have after the diagnosis to the time that she party hopped?
almost 3 years.
Okay.
Um, she went through 2.5 years of chemo. She was a little warrior. She was pistol. She was good at staying positive. And actually, it was 3 years because she was diagnosed in April of 2005 and party hopped in June of 2008. So we had 2.5 years to get good at finding the gift, making the most of every day. So much. I love sharing this story about her. She relapsed within a month of when chemo was supposed to be done. So we went through, it was very aggressive at first. It was like every day, every week, every month, and then little, spread out. But when she was supposed to be done with the protocol, I was training for a leukemia lymphoma society triathlon, and we hadn't even had her survivor party yet. And her first follow up, the doctors called and said she'd relapsed and we needed to get ready aggressively for a bone marrow transplant. So we went to Cincinnati Children's for that. We were there for 3 months. We came back. We were maybe a month out of that. Brutal journey for her. And she relapsed again. So, of course, I was dreading telling her that here we are, you've relapsed again. And when they called to tell me she had relapsed after the bone marrow transplant, they said, there's really nothing else we can do. And, all we could do is buy time, like giving her a high dose of steroids. And I got that call in the evening. I waited until the next morning to share it with her, of course, with massive dread, anticipating sorrow, pain, fear, anger, and I told her that she had relapsed. The doctor had called last night. They were going to run some tests. And she said, when do they want me back at the hospital? And I said, tomorrow morning. And she said, so we have today? And we went and painted pottery. We played putt putt. We went to one of her favorite restaurants for lunch. We went to another for dinner. And she showed me what it looks like to embrace the gift of a day without, too much invested in tomorrow. And I've been carrying that torch as much or as well. Not that I've done it with grace the entire time. It's been 17 years. I am wired though to I saw a quote, I can't credit myself, but I love this quote and I heard it very recently. Somebody's grandparent had said to her, don't live as if it's your last day, live as if it's your first.
Oh, wow.
And even though I love live as if it's your last day and encourage, you don't know how many days you have and to make the most of today. I'm so passionate about words and the power that they carry, the energy and the energy that feels to say to live as if it's your first day is so different than is living as if it's your last.
It really does. I love
It's
that.
palpable.
Yeah. Well, and a couple things that you've said, I want to just highlight because it's so powerful. First of all, that quote, I wrote it down because it's incredible. Don't live
I
as
wish I
if it's
knew
your
who
last
said
day. Live
it.
as if it's your first. For me, the way that would shift is just wonder and curiosity with every day.
Right. Well, like I said, I mean, I do feel like as much as you can tap into being like a child. I mean,
Yeah.
we get to adults, And we can fuel what it's like to be a child, that curiosity. Like I was watching something the other day, and emotions, you have an emotion because you're attached to something that happened in the past.
Mhm.
And we've been conditioned to fear certain things or to react a certain way to different things. Like I was thinking of it as I watched this clip of this young girl like grab up a snake and be playing with it like it was her toy because
Mm.
she hadn't yet learned to fear that. As in
Right.
our adulthood, we learn to feel fear so much more than we do curiosity and joy and wonder. Ask questions, be okay if you don't know the answer or if there's more than one answer. I mean, I'm that way with what's true and what isn't. I will play all day long with perspectives that, circle the subject, and okay if I don't know the answer, which, exactly what happens after your last breath would be one of those. I'm okay with whatever it is.
Yeah.
Um,
Well, and really, that's our only option is to be okay with it.
well, you can not be okay with it, but you'll
But
create a different kind of life for yourself and those around you if
right.
you think that you can control it or if you fear it, life or death. I mean, I believe if you create a different kind of life, you will experience a different kind of death or party hop. And there are lots of hospice nurses and people that deal with, the final moments of a patient all the time that say that is true. If you don't fear it, if you surrender to it, then it's going to be a much more peaceful experience for you than if you're fighting it or white knuckling it or.
Yeah. And that's my point that fearing it, worrying about it, trying to change it isn't going to change anything
Right.
other than it's not going to change the
Sure.
experience of the party hop or the passing, but it's going to absolutely change and affect your life. And so
Right.
another thing that you talked about that I think is so powerful, we we love being right, and we think that our perspective, our maybe one single perspective about the experience that we're having, is the only way to interpret something. That if things are, for example, your daughter being diagnosed with leukemia, there are people I'm sure that would think, how is it possible to have any kind of a perspective other than fear, dread, hatred, frustration, disappointment, all the negative things. But I love the idea also that you brought up that there is no have to, there's only get to.
Yeah.
And that if we can embrace that, it will, I think it will change our lives. It'll in only
100%.
good ways.
I have all the evidence I feel like in the world, in my life and others, as you know, as a speaker, that is the seed of my message, whether I'm speaking about party hopping or whether I'm speaking about what we're creating in our life. Like my license plate says I get to. I last week at a red light, I could tell the woman behind me was taking a picture of my license plate because the frame around the plate says I don't have to, and the license plate says I get to. And there really is no age, no gender, no anything that isn't applicable, large or small. Like I mean, I've gone in and spoken to fifth graders that say I get to eat my vegetables or I get to make my bed,
Yeah.
realizing they have a bed to make,
Yeah.
realizing they have food to eat, and it may not be their favorite, but it's helping them be healthy or it's helping fill their stomach or what, And then mine is a big example on getting to release my daughter. There's so many in between. Laundry and grocery shopping was never at the top of my list of things that I enjoyed doing until they were taken away. Until I'm in the hospital with a child and I'm dependent on what I'm being fed or somebody bringing groceries to me or, not having clean clothes. And then I mean, like I said, it's been 17 years. There's not a night that I lay my head on my pillow that I'm not thanking God and thanking life that I have a comfortable bed, a home that feels like sanctuary, because I slept in a windowsill of a hospital for years. And so I think anything that we can do to fuel our consciousness and our consciousness of that we are the creators of our life and we're much the creators by the words we speak, by the thoughts we have, by the energy we carry, by the energy we share, by the reminders to other people. That I I have so many get to stories. I'm actually wanting to compile and pull some together. I'll get emails. I get to wristbands that I give away
Mhm.
on a daily. I always have one on, and I end up it could be at the grocery store line. It could be somebody complaining. I'm bold enough, it's I won't wait. I am bold. And I also say that parties are more fun with games, and that life's favorite game to play with me is truth or dare because I'm crazy enough to take the dare and find a new truth. And
Mm.
I know what that is for me. I know if I'm in a line and I hear somebody complaining about having to be in line, or like somebody that I remember very specifically, this was several months ago. Like there were two lines at the store, right? Two clerks working, and one clocked out to take her break. And the woman in front of me was like, "Are you kidding me?" Because she would have been next and
Mhm.
going to that clerk, and she was complaining, and I got that divine dare. Now's your time to share the get to message with her. We get to, when you have waited for a child to take their last breath, there's no other wait that's ever going to challenge you. There's no wait in traffic, there's no wait in line, there's no wait for a yes to an application. Like, and I'll share that with other people in hopes to help them reframe. It's never like a righteous, guilty, shame on you bat. And I've learned that some people, depending on where they are, may receive it like that. And I never, so I've gotten really good about framing it. May I offer you, I ask, may I offer you something about waiting in line that I've learned? And she was open to it. And then she actually waited in the parking lot to share with me how that had completely just did a 180 for her in her day and her life. And I know that that's true. I get two bands at the airport, and I'll get an email months later from a flight attendant or somebody that met me on the airplane that I shared that I get to message with, because the airports are breeding grounds for people complaining.
Oh my goodness, yes.
And the flight attendant will give me the PA to say, "We get to fly today." Like the first time that this happened was another divine dare, a longer story than I'll share. However, when the pilot came over the intercom and said we were going to get to wait on the tarmac or wait for another 30 minutes before takeoff, and you could hear the groans and you could feel the energy of the plane, I got the divine dare to ask the flight attendant if I could give the "we get to" message. And I went back and said to her, "I have something that will change the energy of this plane and the way that people treat you the rest of the flight if you'll let me share it." And just quickly said, "I've learned the power of saying we get to see the clouds from above today instead of below." Some
Yeah.
people go their whole lifetime and don't know what a plane ride is like. And we're getting to experience that today. And she like grabbed me and was couldn't get me up to the front of the plane fast enough to share that. it's,
I love that.
it is a game changer. It is a day changer, and it is a life changer, no doubt.
So, if somebody is kind of stuck in the I have to find a new job, I have to live this life that is not the life that I want, I have to go to work, I have to, how
Mhm.
how how can you help somebody get into the habit of finding the I get to?
I ask them if that's true. I let them get to the answer themselves. I mean, you do need a paycheck. We do want a paycheck. It does affect our lives. If you want the paycheck, then you get to go to work.
Yeah.
If you don't like the job, you get to turn in your 2 week notice, or you get to look for something else until you know what I mean? Like, I understand that we, as we're adulting, have bills that we get to pay, and that's a get to too. I mean, we get to choose if we're going to purchase or rent or live with somebody. You know what I mean? Like, not if, when you decide that you're going to take your life back and mold it into something, and that you have the power to do it, I wouldn't say that it's a lie that you have to go to work. I have challenged people, and it's been received, and it has been opposed. That, no, you don't understand. And in my mind, I'm not somebody that's confrontational or going to argue. In my mind, I feel like they don't understand. Like, I was in a position of, after my divorce, trying to figure out how I, supported myself, and thought that I had found a job, knowing that I'm radically different, knowing that I want to enjoy, like, it's so much of your life and so much of your day to go to an 8 to 4, 9 to 5 that you don't enjoy. And I thought I found a position that would be like a dream come true, that was going to marry my passions and what I wanted to do with an income that was predictable, that I
Yeah.
could plan for. And it very quickly became a nightmare. The people that worked there, the space that we were in, the fact that they didn't have core values, and that the turnover was high, and it didn't seem like they were working as a team or open to anything that would make it better. And I remember there was a woman there in my office, and I probably cried more in that 3 months than I have in 3 decades.
Wow.
because of how miserable that environment was. There's a story called Burn the Boats. I won't go into the story, but I kept hearing Burn the Boats, which basically was there's no plan B, you know. Uh, and so I turned in my 2 week notice, and I didn't even make it the 2 weeks because the people, just the things that were happening were so nasty. And when I came into the office in tears again, I was like, I'm going home. I don't think I can do this. I'm trying. And I was given affirmation that there were the video work was coming. So even though it wasn't like regular and felt like the safety net, I still had this faith and this trust that anything would be better and I would make it. I would land. I was jumping without knowing if there was a net, but I knew that I was going to manage and land on my feet somehow. And when I said I was leaving, she said, the oak tree out in the corner of the parking lot or something is a good place to cry. And I just thought that was so sad that
Mm.
people knew where there was a good place to cry on the work premises, and what a testament it was to not that it wasn't just me, you know what I mean, that it was an environmental thing. And I didn't go back after that, and I haven't gone back to the 9 to 5 and growing the video business and the planning business and finding things. I'm working in two different part-time jobs right now, and my schedule is flexible. And even though it's not like my dream realized yet,
Mhm.
my schedule is mine. My dress code is mine.
Right.
um, I'm very grateful that I believed in and knew enough that there is no have to when it comes to where you take work and where your income comes from. That it is a get to create and a get to believe, and one day at a time, one decision at a time, create what it actually is that you want to have as your life experience, and not look back and regrets that you know worked. And that was the thing that was guiding your daily experience, was a work experience that wasn't one that gave you bliss or passion or fueled, your dream.
Yeah. I love this. I love your excitement, your passion, your message is all fantastic. What advice, if you're in front of a group of people, because kind of you are,
Yeah.
a group of
Okay.
people that are just they don't realize that they have the option. They don't realize that they get to it, that it's not that they have to. They can create, like you've been doing, create life on your terms. What advice would you give?
I probably would ask them to start with what would you, if you could do anything that you, and we've heard this before, if you could do anything and it not be, there was nothing in the way or nothing that was, haltering, what would it be? And what's one step you could take towards that? I think the main thing is, well, I say in this party of life, the surprise party of life, there's a masquerade party, a pity party, and a slumber party. And I think a lot of people are sleepwalking through life, not really awake and not really alive and feeling that bliss. What would it look like? And what's something you could do to move in that direction? It may not be a full on leap like I did and be like, I'm out and I'm going to go, do videos. I mean, I was a divorced empty nester, so I didn't have kids at home. There wasn't anybody reliant on if I didn't make it other than myself. Um, and of course, not wanting my kids to worry about mom. What does she do?
Sure.
You know what I mean? And anybody who knows me, my kids included, um, because I did have in and out of having video work after that. After I left that position, and that's the steadiness of that income, people are like, well, Denise, you might, I know you don't want to, but you might have to. They would say you might have to. If I hear have to, like there's a filter. I mean,
Right.
it can't, it is impossible for a have to. A have to will not pass these years and this thinking. If
Right.
it's a podcast, if it's a song, if it's a conversation I'm hearing, whatever. They say you may have to take an 8 to 4 or 9 to 5. And I'm like, no, I won't. And because I didn't, and I stayed focused on what my experience was, because I also have, Janae showing me, if today was your first day or your last, would you want it to be an 8 to 4 hours with some misery? Like I'm, what is it that we could do, or how would you start shaping that so that you're moving towards that and not settling and falling asleep and sleepwalking through this life that you aren't on fire about? That's the first thing I would do, is ask them what, as opposed to where they are, what does that look like?
Yeah.
And I also believe in that spiritual piece where if you're acting towards it, and even if you're not speaking how much you believe in it, the universe does respond. You do attract the offers or the team players or party guests that are going to help you realize what it is you want to create. If you're open and moving and believe that it's possible, if you don't, then that's one block that you're going to get to remove.
Right. And I think you're right. I think that if you are looking for it, if you're expecting it to be there, that block is going to stay. And if you are open to the possibility that it doesn't have to be there, it will disappear.
And that you get to move towards it, not sit and wait for it to come to you.
Right.
That's not a way to make it happen either. Like you
Yeah.
can't wish it to happen. You get to be so there's an acronym: push, pray until something happens. And I've created this A to Z deck of better living every day in every way. And my P, I purposely made it a stutter of push. Which means you pray, participate, and persevere until something happens. Saying a prayer and waiting for it to happen is never going to be what makes it happen. It's going to be your action and your participating and wanting to co-create that, and your perseverance of doing that until it happens, that it actually will come into your fruition.
Yeah. I love it. This has been so much fun.
I thank you. I mean, I told you it's one of my favorite things to do. Time, I tell people all the time, time doesn't fly, it evaporates. And anytime that I get to share in this way, time
Yeah.
evaporates. It's like just like that. So I love getting to do it. And I appreciate the surprise invite and then allowing me to do so for your listeners.
This is great. If people want to get to know you, learn more about you and your celebrations, what's the best way for them to connect?
I'm on Instagram at surprise invite. Or you can go to surpriseinvite.com, which is my website. And if you message me on Instagram, Party Hop, or if you sign up for I am not somebody's going to bombard an email inbox, but I do have a little party favor that I like to send for people that reach out and say, "Hey, I heard you here for the party. You won't leave empty-handed." I got something for you.
Great. Well, this has been so much fun, Denise. Thank you so much for just sharing your joy for life, your enthusiasm, your perspective.
Thank
It's
you.
been
I love
great
it so much.
for
Thank
me.
you so
We're
much.
going to meet in person one of these days.
Absolutely. We're too close not to.
No, only a couple of hours.
Yeah.
Thanks so much. And we will talk to y'all next week.
Okay.
Get back to the work you love, where you face less stress, gain more happiness, and live into your purpose. Let me help you become unstuck and unstoppable so you can finally have the life you want. Head over to my website to connect with me at kenwilliamscoaching.com.